excellent afternoon to all our viewers. When we clamor for social justice and human rights, there is no other way, or will I say, no sacred cow or set of people within the social system that should be above the law. And the law that governs the followers should also govern the leaders. Again, I say excellent afternoon to all our viewers across the globe. For those who are watching us online, I say welcome. You are on another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. And of course, I remain convener of this platform, Kike Atanda-Owo. But I have the real talkers. Let me come to Damilola first. Dami, how are you doing with the ponytail?
Oh my God. Oh! Hey, it's post-Valentine. We are digging it. Hello, everybody, from wherever you're watching us. I'm sure that it's a good day with you as much as it is with us. Of course, our problems are not the problems of the world. We only need to keep our hope alive. My name is Damilola Banure. Welcome again. Please have a good time with us. Are you swayed?
Welcome to your favorite lunch hour show. My name is Omotunde Adeboale David. Y'all call me Lolo One. It's going to be a great day. When color television is smiling, trust me, the show is going to be hot and interesting. Welcome again.
All right, guys. On this day, exactly 13 years ago, the Royal Duchess Shell, Shell Company, was attacked. Let's get details from our On This Day in History segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
On this day in history, in 2009, exactly 13 years ago, gunmen attacked oil facilities operated by Royal Dutch Shell in southern part of Nigeria. A local militant leader claimed responsibility for the attack in a letter and threatened further violence. The movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta men said they are battling to force the federal government to devote more oil industry funds to the southern region, which remains deeply poor despite its great natural bounty.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. You know, on this day in history segment, not only is it that 13 years ago a lot of things happened, but Dami, let me come to you for what's your take on this day in history segment?
I think in my own opinion, the Niger Delta people or the people of that region, they've been agitating for one thing still. It's that they are way underdeveloped compared to the natural resources that their land gives Nigeria as a whole. But I think that, of course, there are a lot of people feeding and feasting on this particular topic or this particular subject. However, it boils down to greed, it boils down to misappropriation, mismanagement, because if a region is generating, so to speak, $1 million naira for you, it won't, I think it's not bad to devote 30 or 40% back to the development of that particular region. But here in Nigeria, there's a peculiar way by which we reason or by which we act. So moving forward, I think it will be better if we re-strategize and continue to promote unity instead of chaos at every given time.
Motunde, what's your take on this?
Nigerians, we're always losing when it comes to a lot of things when we're looking at the Niger Delta region. I remember the time that the agitation of MEND, or the terrorist groups that arose in those regions, fighting supposedly for the people. But at the end of the day, we'll still have to come and question their motives, because when they fight and they get some kind of answer, do they really use it for the things that they really intend for us to use it for? And now that even oil companies are shying away from the country, we're still losing at the end of the day. The money that is supposed to accrue to the region is going, and the development that they expect, we're not even getting it. So it's not win-win on any of the sides. We really need to focus on that region and do better. The leaders of that region need to do better for their own people too.
All right, many thanks for your submission on this day in history segment. But if you ask me, you know, this happened in the southern part of Nigeria, and as far as I'm concerned, I believe that it has become a culture where we keep pointing fingers on unknown gunmen. Who are these unknown gunmen? There are people now. They keep saying that unknown gunmen, and that is exactly what is happening in our country. That things are becoming pretty bad, and I feel that, you know, the oil that we all depend on today, in as much as everybody is saying that there should be other things that also brings wealth into our country, but you realize realize that it's been lingering on for too long, and it has become a culture where we cannot take ownership to say that, okay, we have to do better. We have to make this sector even much more better, where things can become more resourceful for every one of us. But I just feel that the day our leaders tend to start taking ownership, because it's about ownership culture, things will change, and things will change for good. But for now, we are still where we are.
Because there always allocation to that sector, to that area. Their elders are collecting money,
and that's
but
what
it doesn't go down.
I keep saying that the people need to do better for their own people.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. On the show today, we had discussing the case of suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari. And for those who are familiar with this platform, you know that this is a bit sensitive for me. But, you know, the once decorated Super Cop, who is now on the wanted list of the for criminal allegations for drug trafficking within and outside the borders of Nigeria, and many controversies have surfaced on the case, and Nigerians are baffled on the development of the extradition on fraud charges taking so long. Will I say that we remember that the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, 2 weeks ago once mentioned that Nigerians should, you know, keep their calm, and that the US are in synergy with them locally and internationally regarding the dimension of the case of the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, that is Abba Kyari. But before I keep going on and on about the brief and the background of this story, I think it's important to let's understand that we have a learned human rights and social activist who has been known for contribution to, will I say, social justice. Welcome, Segun Awosanya. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. I mean, I must say that I appreciate the fact that you honored my invite with despite the short notice. I say thank you so much. How are you doing today, Segalink? All right, so before they launch our guest back, you know, there are quite a number of things that is happening presently, especially with the topic at hand. But Lolo, what's your take thus far with the way this case is going, and what's your opinion about it?
Very, very disheartening that, you know, a lot of allegations have been coming here and there, and for the caliber of person that is being fingered in all these allegations, it begs the question of who can we really trust in this country. We're talking about a deputy commissioner of police. That is a well-decorated, high-ranking officer. Whether they are even going to eventually find him guilty or not, the fact that his name keeps coming up, it's just something that, you know, it gives me a lot of shivers. And if truly these allegations become proven, that means we're looking at years of corruption. Because it cannot just be about what happened now. There must be other underlining things that a lot of things have covered. That means if we're going to take off the blanket, we are going to be seeing a lot of things that will be chaotic. And that is where I begin to fear. And of course, the people of Nigeria will become more fearful. Because if our people in security are being fingered in corruption charges, then what is the hope of the common man? How are we going to get out of it?
I think my fear even started from when he actually said, the moment I'm going down, I'm going to begin to mention names. Like, yes, because if I relate back, years back at the Tafa Balogun story, even as an IG, and we knew what happened and the whole misappropriation and corruption charges levied against the former IGP, then Tafa Balogun. So he says, if an IG can be this corrupt, then who is a DCP? Who is even a DPO that cannot be corrupt? But mentioning Abba Kyari and looking at even the relationship that Kike said she had shared with him, that he did his job diligently at that point. Yes, it's like they swing. Like they come here today,
like two sides of it.
They are bipolar. They are here today, and the next minute they are there.
But the thing is that anybody, if you are not circumspect, it's very possible that you put your hands in murky waters. So that's why we need to really, really be careful about associations and the things that we do, especially when it comes to the caliber of persons that we are. There are some laws that even say that there are some people that you shouldn't even see at parties around some places, because no matter what you do, you think that, oh, this person is connected to this person. That means I might not get. Imagine if a justice of the Supreme Court is coming to dance at some parties. and he's still presiding
your friends
over a particular matter, you are going to be afraid that if these people are friends and they are this
close and pally,
would I get justice?
For that. Again, many thanks, Segun, for creating time to do this with us, and I must say thank you again for honoring my invite. But you know, myself and the co-host just bantered a little bit on the topic at hand, but let me come to you straight because of time is of the essence with us. I know Abba Kyari's case begins to marvel a lot of Nigerians, including my co-host on this platform. But from a decorated police officer to a wanted man from a multiple crimes, and according to you, because I know that you once said you've seen that such development like this will happen, but can you explain to us how you preempted this and given your own involvement with the police reform across Nigeria? What's your take on this?
Thank you very much, Kike, for your question, and thank you for having me on your program. We, over the years, in collaboration with other civil society organizations, we realized that when the structure of any society degenerates into tyranny, on all sides, the fundamental basis of relationship between the people becomes dependent on power. So in other words, you're going to have chaos from the masses because there's going to be a huge trust gap between themselves and the government. And then you're also going to have a show of force on the side of the government. And this is why we advocated for finding an alternative means of dispute resolution, and that births the NSAS Reform Police NG advocacy, which principally spoke to issues of the culture of impunity within the police structure. In other words, the situation that we found ourselves, from time immemorial, where you have police officers engaging the public with belligerence and without, recourse to their standard operating procedures. In other words, they commit crimes against humanity, they breach human rights protocol, and they do a lot of things that they are not held accountable for. So since 2017, we've been monitoring the police system, we've been engaging the police system, we've been working out with different ideas. I think we have engaged about 3 different ideas since 2015. And what we have been, the kind of engagement that we've been having is multidimensional and multifaceted, to the point where we are not fighting the police. We're trying as much as possible to be a bridge in between the gap between the police structure and the people. Because again, when you have a civilization that you cannot have, in order to have law and order in a civilization, there's no how you're not going to have people who preserve and ensure that they protect the rights of the citizenry and maintain peace within the society. And that's exactly why the police themselves needed to be reinforced. Again, every time we have this kind of engagement, there used to be some perfunctory knee-jerk reactions from people in power, or probably people within the police ranks, who would just do one thing or the other and call it reform. But that's not what happened this time around. This time around, we went through the legislative process to the point of building on all the contributions that we've had in the past towards police reform and concretizing that as the Police Act 2020, repealing and replacing the Police Act 1943. And this, I must say, is a wonderful milestone. And this happened before the protest, by the way, in 2020. And also, there was also in 2019, the passing of the bill, the Police Trust Fund bill, which the president also assented to. Again, I am not trying to say that these bills of themselves are going to solve the problem of police impunity and the rest, but they create a fundamental foundation upon which we can begin to build the rest of the progress. If there is a law in place, we don't need to be afraid that if they change IG, a new IG is going to come and start announcing to us the order to disband roadblocks, the order to disband satellite offices of certain people that will continue to be in crime. So back to the case in point. After a lot of progress, after the citizens of Nigeria came together, agreed on a consensus to show the governments of the day and their leaders that we need the police to be reformed, that we need to stamp out the culture of impunity within the police structure. A lot of systemic operations have been going on within the police system to ensure that they reposition the police for effective service delivery. And one of that is to ensure that all the tactical squads, that was why they disbanded SARS in the first instance, and all the other tactical squads were being reshuffled. But of course, there will always be cancerous nodes with political will backing them up. And that's exactly the example of the Kyari case. We have been mentioning and flagging Kyari's atrocities since 2017, but there have not been enough political will to hold him accountable and to remove him from the system until the FBI investigation on Hush Puppy came to fore. And with that, since then, the Police Service Commission, which is an arm of the police structure that ensures that police officers are, 1, recruited, 2, promoted, and 3, they are disciplined when they commit offenses. But of course, I know their task has not been easy, and which is why if they have been doing their work properly, there wouldn't be a CF, a Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation, neither would there be a SEGA in any equation, or neither would there be hundreds of civil society organizations intervening on police matters with citizenry. But because their job has been difficult, and because the police itself as an institution has a lot of political interferences within the operation, so it has been very difficult for certain things to happen. For instance, if a police officer commits an offense against a citizenry, and the police officer is a senior officer, you will have to take a date. Even if that case was reported, you have to take a date at the disciplinary council to hear his matter, and that can go on for 2 years. So justice probably will not be served, and probably will not be seen to be served, unlike other younger junior officers, which interventionists can actually rally up, ensure that there's an orderly room trial, and ensure that he's reported enough to be probably dismissed and charged to civil courts for justice to be served. And this has been happening over the years. But with the officers, it has been more difficult. So Kyari's case is a litmus case. It's a test case that will begin to break that barrier, between those people who are shielded the system from the law. So this time around, again, I've seen a lot of people quote the Extradition Act and talk about, maybe the NDLEA sting operation was a ploy or a plot to shield Abba Kyari from being extradited. Well, I must say, I am not a police officer. I've been working in the gap for quite a while, and I must tell you that the NDLEA is not a drama group. They are not a drama troupe, and they are not out there to shield anybody or to create a legal conundrum for somebody to stop somebody from being extradited. That's not what is happening here. Because again, the question we need to ask, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was the extradition order before the crime on ground, or was the crime on ground before the extradition order? But of course, we know that the discourse and the dialogue on the extradition order has been on before the incident in the NDLEA. So again, the level of impunity that we're talking about, which speaks to the culture of impunity, is about an officer who has been flagged several times for different offenses, who was on suspension based on an FBI investigation, awaiting extradition, who now still had the power to be pulling strings from the shadows and controlling police formations. Now that begins to speak to the situation, to the distrust the general public have in the system. Because if there could be police officers who are far above the law, who have so much links, are so strong links, that even in more or less in a situation where it's about to be dismissed, he's still controlling, or he's still a force within the police system.
All right, many times, Segun, with all your submission thus far, you shared a lot with the first question I asked you, but I want to ask, because I know that there's a lot of questions on people on the streets when it comes to the intelligence on this story or in this story. Nigerians believe that the government, or will I say the supposed power behind Abba Kyari are kind of in play when it comes to the possible extradition, or probably allegedly want to sabotage him being extradited. What's your take on this?
Well, I just need to say and reiterate that nothing is going to stop the inevitable. Kyari is not new, to crime within the system. Kyari is one of the cancerous nodes in the system for those who have been following up the advocacies and all the reports that have been happening. And in fact, if the legislature and the economic council or the vice presidency or the presidency actually, if the presidency looks into the report of the judicial panel of inquiries across Nigeria, there's no how that you are not going to see over 100, if not 200 files and reports and cases against this same individual. So it is not something that anybody or any clique or any cabal can stop. Justice will be served, and it will be seen to be served.
Okay, Mr. Segun, I think from my own points, I shared with Lolo a few minutes ago that it's daunting for me when you pick on a Nigerian who has a case or who is going through a corruption case and he's threatening to mention names. Why are we usually in that line that if I must go down, several others must go down with me? Why has this become a culture? Because his name has been mentioned. Of course, if there are other people in this saga, I believe that they are also going to be mentioned. But for him to come out to say, you know what, if I'm going down, I will not be the only one to go down. I'll go down with several other people. Why do you think this has become a norm?
Well, you are dealing with the culture of impunity in any country, especially as regarding an institution as sensitive and as critical as the police institution. You are going to see a lot of gimmicks. You're going to see a lot of styles. You're going to see a lot of attempts, to botch the process and the prosecutory process, from yielding any result. So that's why sometimes they leave with end notes and they say things, coded messages like, look, if I go down, I'm going to mention names. This is to activate several nodes who probably must have profited from the illicit funds and the rest that have been going around, that look, if you don't do something to ensure this doesn't happen, we are all going down. So, of course, you will see, well, when the whole thing blows open to the public, you will find that there are certain people who have seen the fact and they cannot run away from the fact, but they are putting it on record that, well, the fact speaks for itself, res ipsa locutor, but my opinion is maybe we should cut him some slack. So there are some people who are being on the fence because they don't want what they did last summer to also be revealed. But I think we are way past that now, because we're looking at an international incident, we're looking at a national incident, we're looking at an institutional incident, and we're also looking at public perception of the institution. I made a poll out earlier today. I made some tweets and I said over 80% of Nigerians have lost total trust in Nigerian institutions and the Nigerian government. But of course, a lot of people are saying I must be too generous. That is about 99.9%. So we ran a poll. The poll is still out there. And truly and genuinely, it's about 99.9% over, meaning if you put up 10 people out there and you ask them if they trust the institution, the criminal justice system of the country, 9 of them, if not 9.5, 9 of them with somebody who is not sure of what he's saying or who is not sure of to stand, they will tell you that they don't trust the system. So this is an opportunity for Nigerian government, for the Attorney General of the Federation, for the heads of the police institutions, and for well-meaning Nigerians to put their foot down and let justice to be served. Because again, Kyari is not the only person under investigation now. The entire country is under investigation. The entire police institution is under investigation. The government is under investigation.
All right,
so
Segun,
justice must be served.
thank you so much for your submission, and I like the line of thoughts that you are threading. Now we need to go and talk about the credibility of the investigation that is being carried out in Nigeria. We have seen a lot of high-profile cases that they would say that we are investigating. And at the end of the day, you will see that the investigation will begin to hit rocks. We will begin to see snags on the way. How can we even trust the investigative ability of the Nigerian police itself? So who is going to conduct this investigation effectively? Because the first investigation that the IGP they did, the Police Service Commission rejected it. They said they will not take this one. So who are we going to trust the investigation of this particular matter into? Or every time, if we are going to be getting any credible investigation, are we going to be relying on foreign authorities to do the job for us?
Thank you, distinguished. What I need to say here is that this particular case is very straightforward. There is an NDLEA Act, and if you look at that act, there is actually a provision for this kind of crime. So if the provision, for the sake of this interview, says that anyone who is caught doing this, is to be sentenced, or so is to face the consequences of, say, life imprisonment, for instance. You see, the case actually is so straightforward. This is not the police. You see, when we say police reform, we're not asking the police to reform itself. We're saying that every single arm of government that is responsible for the criminal justice system to put their house in order and fix the system. So in other words, when we're trying to say this, normally we have what is called the institution rivalry, so to say, So, but in this case, if you notice, the police have not been struggling. They didn't say they are not going to, that they've seen the report, that they're going to look into it, they're going to investigate it before they get back to the NDLEA. They handed him over. Remember, the NDLEA, they are not alleging. It is not a social media post. It is not a picture of hand on ground. It's not a report or a petition submitted by a citizen that is meant to be investigated further. It was a sting operation. And the sting operation has procedure. And they've submitted their findings, they've engaged the police, and they've shown them their files, and police have released this person. They've suspended them. They've released the affected officers to the NDLEA for further prosecution. So that prosecution, the process cannot be disturbed by any political tantrum that may be thrown up. So it is not about, it's about trusting the system and monitoring and evaluating the outcome of what is to come. So we are all involved in this.
Many thanks for staying with us. In case you just joined the show, today's conversation is about Abba Kyari, and we've been talking about the extradition of Abba Kyari and, of course, the alleged drug attacking crimes and drug cartel in Nigeria. And, of course, we are also discussing with our kind guest, which I would like to refer to as a social justice advocate and, of course, lawyer, Segun Awosanya. Many thanks for doing this with us again. With all that you've shared thus far, I think I would like to come to the fact that, okay, before I go further, let me quickly say this. For those who want to contribute on this show, remember that you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number 070-988-77400, showing on your screen right now. And remember that we are streaming live on YouTube page and, of course, on Facebook page, on Real Talk with Kike, and on Silverbird platform. So let me come to you, Segalin, because I know that I want to think that, on the other hand, that if an American is found guilty of similar alleged crimes that Abba Kyari is wanted for, I want you to come to speed and educate Nigerians. Do you think that the extradition or the extradited to Nigeria for justice, do you think that this will come to play? Also, where do we draw the line of protecting our own citizens, especially, of course, I mean Nigerian citizens, and the call for justice against crime, especially with the what is going on now with NDLEA?
Yeah, thank you very much. See, these are that the various countries have relations, and part of that relations include the ability for you to have a handshake when it comes to the criminal justice system. If there is a crime committed by a citizen of your country on my soil, or against my citizen, or against my country, that affects my country, there is a process through which that can be done. Seen and monitored, situations where Nigerians who live abroad committed crimes in Nigeria. So, and with that, there are some things there are some processes and procedures that need to be followed to bring such a person in to Nigeria to come and answer for those crimes. And the justice system within such countries will collaborate and cooperate with Nigeria to bring such a person in.
Apologies, Segun, I have to interrupt your line of thought. We have Dr. Frank from Edo State. Dr. Frank, please go straight to the point. What's your contribution on the topic at hand? Please reduce the volume of your TV set, please. All right, apologies, I have to let that go. Yes, Segun, please go ahead.
So there are processes to follow. So and these processes are, within the jurisdiction or within the purview of and remit of the Attorney General of the Federation. So they will look at the situation and the case in point, whether it's a police officer or even a citizen. They will look at the case in point and say, okay, is this crime something that has to do, something that we need to extradite for, or something that can be done within the country? And if they look at all the boxes and they find out that it's something that the person needs to go and answer for, the person goes. And the same way, whether the person is an American or Indian or so. So it's not really a serious political debate, as it were. But because of the nature of the officer involved, you are seeing a lot of debate, you are seeing a lot of dilly-dallying. The moment this thing happened a few months back and all, the issue happened a few months back, I think this should have been put to rest. But again, remember, when people are charged for something, if they say somebody stole something, normally what happens is they will be subjected to internal mechanisms or investigation mechanisms. This is an institution, just like the army. You don't just go and arrest a military officer. You report the matter, they will look at it internally, and if the person is guilty after the orderly room trial or after the whatever it is that the internal process that's available within that institution, then they will now release the person either after dismissal to the public for prosecution. So this is the same way when you're dealing with extradition. So it's not about Nigeria being stubborn or being naughty or being political. It's about procedure. And that's one of the reasons why the Attorney General of the Federation says that a procedure is being looked into and they are going to give Nigerians, a reason to continue to trust the government on this particular matter. This is a police officer. If it were to be a citizen, it would have been easier. But because it's a police officer, the internal mechanism of disciplinary mechanism within the system will have to first be exhausted before they now get onto extradition itself. Right. So I think that's what's going on right now.
Many thanks for that. We have Emmanuel again from Delta State. Please go straight to the point, please.
Okay.
Yes, Emmanuel, we can hear you.
Okay. My question, my suggestion is that why are they treating Abba Kyari very special? They have committed the crime. Let me say the music. This will extradite him to America to face that character. Because I'm seeing some religion politics here. That's my contribution. Thank you.
All right, many thanks, Emmanuel, for your contribution. Segalink, in the report that was submitted by the panel to the IGP, just like Lolo mentioned earlier, Usman Baba, about Abba Kyari, it said that IPOB are the causes of his problems and that they've been on the one trying to get him to the current situation he is presently because of the current government declaring on them. Is there any correlation between the charges and the IPOB?
Well, I don't think there's any correlation. Sometimes when things like this happen a lot, there will be an attempt to grasp at straws. There will be an attempt to create unnecessary drama. There will be an attempt to throw tantrums. There will be an attempt to blame every Dick and Harry. Because again, I don't think there is, he can actually keep count of how many people he has committed an offense against, and how many people he has infringed upon their rights, whether directly or indirectly, whether wittingly or unwittingly. So pointing fingers at IPOB, who actually should be in court against him for fundamental human rights infringement for the people who were killed in the Southeast and tagged as IPOB members. You see, so many crimes have been committed, and the system and the authorities know about this. The files speak for themselves, the cases speak for themselves, and the blood of the innocent speaks for themselves as well. So it is not about IPOB wanting to do one thing. It is about unprofessional, conduct of an officer who sees himself far above the law. And again, I will say this because he is not the only DCP in the Nigerian police. There are several other DCPs who are far older than him, far more experienced than him, who are not presenting themselves as super cop or playing Indian films on TV, for the cameras, who are professionally sound. But again, when those people...
let me just interrupt your line of thoughts there when you're talking about him not being the only...
Apologies, I have to interrupt your line of thought. We have Glorious from Rivers State. Glorious, please go straight to the point because of time. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, Glorious.
Please go ahead. We can hear you, Glorious. Apologies, I have to let that go, Lolo.
Yes, please, you were talking about him not being the only cop that is in practice, really, which is the truth. But now we're looking at the competence and character of the Nigerian police in itself, in entirety. We're talking about a well-decorated officer right now that is being fingered and involved in all these illegal acts. What are we going to do about the nature and character and the competence of the Nigerian police? Can you hear me?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's one of the reasons why there was a campaign and advocacy that has been running for 5 years now that speaks to the stamping out of the culture of impunity and SARS. SARS was just a poster child here in that equation. And I must tell you something very interesting. Do you know that 60% of the crimes pinned on SARS were actually committed by IGP IRT, by the team that was led by Abba Kyari? because they were sharing the same building with SARS in those years. Everything they did was blamed on SARS. We have the records, and these records speaks for themselves. So what I'm trying to say now is that it's not about firing officers, but actually retweaking, rejiggling, and reorganizing the entire formation. And as at this morning, and I can say this authoritative, as at this morning, the IG has declared a state of emergency on the IGP IRT units. Yeah. And right now they are facing a shakedown where they are reorganizing the entire setup. Remember, they have a new head that's in the DCP Tunji Disu. Yeah. DCP Tunji Disu was brought into play when Abba Kyari went on suspension. But since he has been there, I don't think he has fully been given the full authority, to handle situations there. He's still been taken out of office to do one thing or the other here and there. And as at the time in January, when the incident of the drug deal happened, he wasn't on seat. And it was the deputy and Abba Kyari who are still in talks and in links that actually carried out that operation. So at the end of the day, you see that there is a need now, a gaping need for the authorities to allow the new DCP to take charge of the affairs of the intelligence response team, right, so that we can begin to see the purpose for which they were created.
All right, apologies, Segun, again. We have Glorious from Rivers State. Please go straight to the point.
We said the NDLA for that posting. If they continue with this, I think the rate of drug trafficking and some of these things will stop. It's a bold step for the side of the NDLA, and I'm glad for what they did. That's my take.
Okay. All right. Many thanks for your contribution. Dami, yes.
Yes, on a final note, I think that it's important for me to reiterate that before any person became a police officer, we are first Nigerians. The general attitude of Nigerians, I think, is what we carry on to our respective positions of work. Now, how attractive will the police force be for youngsters that are thinking or want to have, how would I put it, a career or a profession in the police force? How attractive do you think this will be for them?
Thank you. If we are to bring about or pray about change, we must be part of change ourselves. And there's no how we can think of nation building without contributing as citizens. And one of the contributions that we can make is to join the police system. Now, a lot of people will not want to join the police system because of the kind of people that we see. But I can tell you that the reform efforts, has not been in vain. If the NSCDC can actually be reformed to the point where every single person that they employ and they recruit are graduates, and if you notice, there have not been terrible reports about the civil defense and the National Security and Civil Defense Corps a lot, because the people there are exposed, they have good training, their promotion is never lagging, and their pay is decent, and they are well trained. So the same thing can happen to the police. The police are suffering from age-long neglect, and it is an institutional dilemma, and it has complicated the original problems that some people brought into the system themselves as a person. So together with the institutional problem, it creates a gaping chaos and conundrum. So because of that, I just want to say that well-meaning citizens who have studied in different disciplines can bring their contribution to the police structure, and then we can begin to build from there. Things will get better as we move along.
All right, many thanks for your submission thus far, but this will be the last question on this platform today. I know that on a different note, you are an institutional reforms advocate, and you've played major roles in the police reforms, and you are one of the, vanguard of NSAS. What can you say, based on your evaluation of the Nigerian police force? Can you say that the developments have been positive, or can you say that, I don't want to say you, as in, are you guys achieving the aims of the proposed reforms that was formed?
Yes, I would say to a large extent that we are. The most difficult aspect or points of a divergence, in reform a bit is the legislation. And thankfully, we have been talking about this since the last administration, the last dispensation under the Senate President Bukola Saraki and the Speaker of the House, Dogara, and to Femi Gbajabiamila now and all. So there had been a continuum of that dialogue that have yielded the result in creating the Police Act and the Police Trust Fund, which is still being evaluated and monitored. You see, no law can do for us what we need to inspect, because people don't do what you expect, they do what you inspect. Citizen participation is very important, especially when it comes to laws, when it comes to law and order and the rest, because the laws themselves don't operate on their own, except the society itself creates a value system that shuns crime. It is not the police that keeps crime away. It is the society that says, we don't want this in my backyard. And with that, they join hands with the security operatives based on trust, and they stamp out impunity. And that's exactly how it is. So I would say that to a large extent, we are not where we used to be. Progress is being made and more can still be done. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show. It has been an interesting time with you on Real Talk with Kike segment. But before we let you go, let's discuss the trending story that affects us all together as Nigerians. And the first trending story that caught our attention is that of the APC governors that they feel that they've been divided over national convention choices of concession. Dami, let me come to you quickly before I come to Segun. What's your take on this when you saw this trending story?
Nothing lasts forever. If I think what the APC governors are trying to agitate for is the continuous godfatherism. I hope I'm correct, because everybody has a stake, so to speak. It's like you're coming to a party and you're asked to bring your drink, and at the end of the day, I'm bringing my drink to the table and I cannot even get a glass to drink. I'm going to complain. So I think that for the APC, the leaders and the party people, they should find a common ground to make sure that everybody is included. It's just a culture of inclusion. That's all I think they need to do.
Okay, all right. I think our technical director was saying into my ears that they've agreed to be zoning into the north side as at this morning. But if you ask me, you know, with this trending story and the little research that I made, and I just feel that when I hear that there's a divide or lack of concession in our politics, I smile and I say that we have a long way to go in politics, because as far as I'm concerned, I just feel that these divides, you know, and these disagreements are always about whether what's the need for me is born out of the need to find justice or equity to our government and also the politicians themselves, because our multitude of ethnicity, if that's for lack of a better word now, and geopolitical inclination, I just feel that there's a lot of issues that are ongoing at that angle. And however, I still feel that there's a need for us to start looking beyond the box, beyond political zoning and the likes and all of that. And I feel that we should look into credentials, you know, how people can perform, the integrity of the people based on their records, you know, and what's it called, their performance as well. I feel that those are the determining factor that is affecting us today. But you know what, with all that is going on right now, and the loss of time and resources, and will I say the fact that people are divided, especially when it comes to what is the need for them in politics, because that is all I'm getting from here. It is not just about the Igbo man, if you ask me. If the Igbo man can do it, let the Igbo man do it. Let's see what the Nigerian Igbo people can actually do and perform. I also feel that if it's also the job people, you know, that can perform and that is capable, let's put them there so that we can at least move on forward and find a better Nigeria than a Nigeria that, instead of us looking for which state are you from, which Yoruba, which region are you from, and the likes and all of that. But Segun, let me come to you first. What's your take on this trending story? Very short, please.
Thank you very much. I believe that an Igbo man, a Hausa man, a Yoruba man are all Nigerians. Absolutely. So if we're looking for leadership, and if indeed leadership is about responsibility, we should care less about where anybody is coming from. But look at their competence, their capacity, their clarity, their conscientiousness, perspicacity, and their understanding of the needs of Nigerians. And the fact that leadership is all about answers to prayers of the citizenry and connection, humanity, empathy. But if all these things are jettisoned for the color of agbada that somebody is wearing, the religion of somebody, or the way it came from and the rest, it's going to be a problem.
All right, many thanks for your short submission there. I think the second trending story that caught our attention is that of the rep that seek emergency declaration on ritual killings and they blame it on Nollywood. Lolo, let me come to you because this is your industry. What's your take on this with the reps pointing fingers at Nollywood today?
Honestly, when I hear some submissions, I become very, very worried. It can never be the only issues that we need to face as a country. We are failing the youth, and the culture of ritualism that we're even talking about is a handed down culture. Yeah. It's like telling me that the children are beginning to become their fathers, and that's because of what they see. A lot of us need to look inwards and know that our children, the youth, whatever they are doing in the present time, they must have learned this culture from somewhere. If we are before they'll say that we'll be figuring older people in ritualism, that's what we grew up to know. But of course, you know that the generation is constantly changing. That means it's becoming younger and younger. How can you blame those that tell stories? And even if you want to even look at Nollywood, most of the stories that are being told always end with a repercussion, and there will be a recompense for what you do. So it's not like some of the Nollywood stories that are even blaming. It ends without a conclusion that is positive. It is positive. We need to begin to look at our failed culture. Our children are not in school. The economy is bad. Poverty has become like a banner that we are wearing in the country. So where do you want people to turn?
I think
they're just reactionary.
I share Lolo's sentiments. It's in two parts. If Nollywood, if I'm from the industry of Nollywood too, yes, I think constantly what Nollywood has fed us to has contributed to it. But here, there is daylight ritualists everywhere. Politicians that are ripping us off is ritualists. You are not giving, you are irresponsible, you are not capable, you cannot even, misappropriation of funds, embezzlement, that's daylight ritual. Because somebody is dying in the hospital because of what you did not do. That is ritual. Somebody is dying on the road because of the roads that you did not fix. That is ritual. It's not the one you remove somebody's head. People are dying every other day. So don't blame it on Nollywood. Let everybody pick their blames and let's know how to move forward.
All right, Damilola, many thanks for your submission. If you ask me, first off, I'm coming from a place of positivity in the sense that it is good that they are aware of the happenings in Nigeria because they are aware of the environment and they are rising up to the task. Because I remember how I think I called on the executive director, that's the National Film Video Censors Board, that is Adedayo Thomas or something, that, you know, especially when it comes to the kind of movie that they, you know, that they churn out for on a daily basis for Nigerians. It is a pity that we have, how would I put it, that we have not admitted that social media is one of the channels that contribute to the issues that we have at hand right now. Because however you look at it, most of the films that is being created right now, they cut extractions of, we put it on social media. These are things that most of these youths take and they tend to want to play it out. However, our youth today also pick positive things from social media, but it is very minimal. And I'm asking myself, all the things that they pick today, the vices, the meaningless challenges that we see today, let one challenge come out now, you will see all the youth of Nigeria willing to jump at it.
We'll be going to World.
And again, look at the 3 boys that they caught recently in Abeokuta, who recently said that and confirmed that they learned all the things that they are exhibiting today from the Facebook page. So can you imagine that? So all these youth of today are caught in the web of what they see and how they consume the news that they
translate
it. And they see it as far as I'm concerned, false lives, evil things that they want to exhibit, especially when it comes to the social media and the films that they see. And yet they are not taking talent from all the things that they are seeing themselves. If you all can agree with me that youth of today want to buy the biggest house, they want to drive the biggest car. Hence the reason why you see the height of the yahoo and the ritual killings. And if you ask me, even the ladies that have started all these ritual killings as well, all these things was better from Nollywood. And many of these reports, Lolo, is unfortunate. I feel that sometimes even the Nollywood actors
we have our shortcomings.
do not take ownership on the kind of narrative that they put out there. I feel that there is a lot of positive news that you can put out there when it comes to Nigeria. But today, how many people is doing the research? How many people are even educated enough to say that they are going to the school of theater school and all of that? So no matter how much we want to point fingers at the House of Reps with what they have said, I think that it may be also time for us to look inward and look at the innocent child that is being put out there into exposing themselves into this victim of ritual killings with what they see today, especially with social media not being of help. But Segun, let me quickly get your submission on this. Please, very short, please. What's your take on this?
Thank you. I will first want to refer to the Bible. So that when you train your child in the way of the Lord, when he grows up, he will not depart from it. Yes, so that's, you put that at the doorstep of responsible parenting, which is one of our advocacies. Parents must be more responsible and more connected to their children. Secondly, a wise man, I think it was Adam Grant, that says that to understand people's passion, ask them what they love to do, to know their values, find out who they look up to and why. So you see, in most cases, we have failed to understand that we all, yourself, myself, the politicians themselves, our leaders, the imams, the pastors, they are custodian of societal behavior. They are the ones that hold our culture and teach it to our young ones, not by what they say, but by what they do. When you look at pastors flaunting wealth in a society that has poverty weaponized against them, what exactly will you want people to do? When you scroll on Instagram, it's not how you are not going to be depressed, because everybody is talking about how they quickly got something which they have not worked for. So we need to sanitize a lot of things, and we need to engage our youth, because failure to engage our youth, we're leaving a gap that can consume the nation. Thank you very much.
All right, many thanks for that. I say, what my takeaway is responsible parenting. With that, we've come to the end of another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. Indeed, we had an awesome show today, and I must say, courtesy our resourceful guest, Segun Awosanya. Segun, can I quickly chip it in that my co-hosts were actually... well, they were admiring you. God, with that, we've come to the end of it. My name remains Kike of Atanda-Owo. Are you happy?
My name is Damlola Banire, and have a good day ahead.
All right.